and we are finally able to rest and do some makeup. But did you know that Thomas Crooks, the man who pew-pewed President Trump, had photos of Kate Middleton saved in his phone? This is according to the Sun newspaper published in the UK. That is the latest, wildest twist to Kate Middleton's return to public life. We've only seen her twice. Trooping of the Color, she looked great in white and black. Then we saw her look spectacular handing over the trophy for the men's final winner at Wimbledon. But when that man tried it with President Trump, for some reason, he had photos of Kate saved in his phone. Do you know what it means? I don't know what it means. I am very concerned for the safety of President Trump and any staff involved in his campaign because, this is their job. They're just trying to get to work and do the things that they're supposed to in order to create a strong choice for people who would like to manage our country differently. But then along comes a hater, and then he gets a piece of equipment that could have changed the fate of history. And maybe that was more important to the alleged shooter than anything else. But please let me know what you think. Stopped by the Dollar Tree this week, got these adorable hand mirrors, right? This one has like swirls on it, and this one has this sort of purple animal print. Let me know which pattern you like better because it's time to do some makeup. Yes, right? We can't let anything slow us down, right, from our mission, right? Sometimes you can, have people who are actively trying to stop you from doing your work, right? Whether that's someone on your job or like this Thomas Crooks character, someone lurking around the perimeter trying to stop the show. They weren't able to stop the show, but I will tell you that's not for want of trying. How could it be that someone who wants to damage President Trump and his campaign would have photos of Princess Catherine of Wales in his phone? For what? It makes you think of the gentleman who pew-pewed Ronald Reagan. If I'm recollecting correctly, he had some kind of obsession with Jodie Foster where he wrote her letters and was doing too much, right? Like, was this, hi Deepu Mohanan, hi Shyamel Kalita, hi, I love India. I would love to go visit India. Pillow Talk 2 Medium, I decided to give it another try to see if the deeper shade had value for me. I'm medium in a lot of foundation shades, and they say you should overline the center of your top lip. So try to get that done for a poutier look. Not that I really need help in that department, but you look like Granny. I definitely have a Granny hairstyle going. But I'm from the United States, Hollywood in particular. Naboo music, what kind of music do you make? But yeah, I split my hair in two, and it's in two kind of like space buns. But thanks for checking in on my live. I'm extremely pleased and flattered that you took the time out to come through. There's always so much excitement in the comments section. I feel like people wait until I go live to express some emotions that might get them in trouble at school or work or out in public, like your hairstyle. I'm trying to keep my hair loose when I'm, doing television stuff. I have to have my hair back in a very tight bun. So on the weekend, I like to let it move around and not stress it out too much. It has been, it's been a trying week, I'll tell you. Naboo Music, thank you so much. I try to be, but I try to keep you informed, especially when it comes to royal news and what's been going on with Kate Middleton. How could someone want to lay your girl into this whole situation with Donald Trump? Like, what sense does it make? When he's a continent away. She's struggling to recover from some kind of cancer removal back in January, and now she's wanting to, pop out, right? Best dress, $1,700 dress from, I think, British label, Sophia. It may be run by a South Asian designer, but, oh, thanks. I certainly have a lot of them for now. I see all the people doing all the, what do you call it? Veneers, and it can look a little suspicious. I'm not into all that, right? Try to take care of what Mother Nature gave you. Put on a little makeup before you go out, to the gym. There was, I was doing so good trying to eat like a regular human being, and then I went to work and things went left. It started it started with coconut shrimp, friends. That was Monday. Coconut shrimp with a slivered carrot, spicy kind of what do you call it? Chili pepper sauce with slivered carrots, finely slivered. So when you put the sauce on the coconut shrimp, it had like crunch and bite and spice, and then the sugar of the carrot. Delicious. Oh, but it didn't stop there, right? I asked the caterer, I was like, ooh, can I have both? So the other thing was sliced tri-tip on top of, they do this really interesting thing where they take a slice of potato and kind of make it like, almost like it has holes in it as if it's a piece of cloth that's been woven. It has this pattern in it, but it's very fine. It's like a potato chip on top with a kind of brown gravy, had a little hint of tamarind in it. Kiana Lede. Oh, really? I'm gonna look her up. I do like Ice Spice. I do feel like we need a little bit more from her, right? We've heard the other music, and we're kind of looking for her kind of like sophomore effort. Ricky Bear, what's up? Sachin Kole, welcome. Keisha's channel. I want to find out who Kiana Lede is, but we have her lips lined. We have a very pale shade of stick foundation. It's getting hot in Los Angeles, y'all. This is Get It All foundation in 001 light. Too light for me, but I've used it as a highlight. I'm looking at how these products sit on the skin and how they last, because, out in the world, you can end up really needing to, this is my silicone sponge that's on its last legs. Getting this product, which is the Natural Beige 220 shade of, I think this is Maybelline Fit Me Shine Free Stick Foundation. It's a very hard product to find. Do I have a man? Yeah, you tell him, Keisha's channel. We don't necessarily get online to put that kind of business out. We're trying to talk about, why did Donald Trump's shooter have pictures of Kate Middleton in his phone? And do you believe it? Do you believe it, or do you think this is some kind of attempt to drive SEO and coverage for the princess as she limits her participation in public work, right? There's a lot of childhood poverty and other kinds of poverty in the UK, and people who have billions of dollars in assets, it's unclear why they continue to take, is it 24 million or 24 billion in taxpayer funds every year? That seems tacky. But, is that some kind of relationship that Kate Middleton has to this Donald Trump shooter. Like, what was the Donald Trump shooter trying to say? Was he trying to critique billionaire wealth hoarding? Was he trying to disrupt American democracy? What was the issue? I confess I've been at work and I haven't really buy Naboo music. Keisha's channel, you're a champion. You know, I haven't really found any information about his motivations and, you know, whatever. I will say I did not put on primer and I did not engage any setting spray today. And as I've been wearing both to work, I do feel that they do make somewhat of a difference. It's fine. It works out until you start sweating. And once you start sweating, I feel like, you know, I got hold of this product, Carpe sweat absorbing face lotion, right? And I've listened with interest to, I think there's a particular makeup artist who talked about using actual antiperspirant on the faces of, I don't know if it was theater performers or what. We have 2 shades of the NYX Wonder Stick. We have Universal and we have Deep. So let's rock with Universal. I feel like this lip liner is a bit deep in tone. Uh-oh, and our NYX Wonder Stick is sweating. That's how warm it is. We were able to grab some gels, right? We were at work on this cop show, you know, the same one that had the coconut shrimp and tri-tip. And we were, you know, getting back to the car, but there was a bunch of gels that had been put in the trash, pink and a dark charcoal. So I actually wrapped my ring light in one of these, you know, to try to say, oh, light is great, but you don't want light that's so kind of harsh that it creates shadows on the wall. And then I kind of split my softbox light and this ring light that has a gel on it, you know, see what we can do, right? See if we can improve matters here for the live. But the question is, did the Donald Trump shooter have some kind of manifesto or reason for incorporating Kate Middleton into his very surprising, shocking, in fact, actions at that rally? One hears that Donald Trump has still not paid venues that he used in his first campaign. And those venues are salty. They want the money. It's like, you know, renting arenas that are more secure from that kind of, you know, hater activity. It costs. It's not free. And even if people trust you to pay the bill and you still haven't paid it, imagine that would have been 2016. And it's not 2016 anymore. The bill's not paid. But, you know, this is what people have known about Donald Trump for a long time. He's not going to pay. He's stiffing, you know, vendors in his casino and other real estate endeavors. This isn't new information. So in this light, this contour is looking, it's looking warm. It's looking tan, right? Not exactly my preference. I like a gray contour and to reserve warm tones for bronzer, but we're gonna rock out with it anyway, because that's what we do here on the House of Tanya channel. I mean, honestly, I'm going live more to create B-roll for myself of me doing makeup, because other platforms will call your work unoriginal if you have too many images that are not legitimately you. So we get around it and we get back to our makeup practice by going live and doing what we do, right? That's what it is. But yes, why would the Donald Trump shooter have any kind of animus to include or target you know, Kate Middleton in the middle of his, quite honestly, mess. Like, what is he up to that he feels like this is appropriate or compelling? I don't happen to agree. I think that he should have left her out of it, right? She has enough to deal with that husband and all those stories about what he's been up to, right? How dare this man, at random, drag her into this? And again, do you believe it's true? Published by The Sun. Can it be that Kate Middleton has anything to do with this? I honestly don't know, but we're getting into, again, we're trying to be like the low consumption girlies who are talking about using up your stash. This is a NYX Simply Nude, exposed as the shade SN02, and it's actually quite delightfully medium in tone. So it's not like putting some super white color onto your lips. It's not your natural shade. But when I wore it before, I was actually quite pleased at it. Kind of gives you a little bit of peach on my skin tone, right? So we keep experimenting with the right mix of products to bring to work. So this is that nude lip cream we just tried, right? Earlier we had put on some contour in the shade medium from LA Colors into the lid area, and we kind of did a pre-contour, right? But now we could get a little bit more serious. I was really stunned. I picked up this LA Colors shadow stick in the shade Jaw Dropper, and it looked great. But right now we're also going to get into Tulips Cream Gel Blush from LA Colors. We grabbed this when we were leaving a different project on a different day. And it does come in a squeezy tube, so we can squeezy it out on our little palette. A lot of people recommend putting makeup on your hand, but the thing is, in my line of work, I often have to wear a white shirt. And, you know, I'm often in a hurry. So I'm not necessarily wanting to get a lot of things all over. I'd rather not have more stuff on my skin and on my hands to get, you know, into unexpected places when I'm rushing and I need to be on camera. I can't do all that. If I'm able to, I just like to use a little palette, right? And that way you can shear things out and then tap them into the place that you want them, right? Right. And that way you can, you know, kind of build your blush area on top of where you've contoured. A lot of people are talking about boyfriend blush and dragging it down the cheek. I feel like I don't have a long enough face to benefit from that personally. And I'm always surprised how pigmented this particular product is. Again, $1.25, right? Everyone enjoys shopping for makeup, but that's not always the most responsible choice that we can make with our, you know, with what funds we do have available. So if we can get the sort of pleasure of experimenting with something new, and again, if you haven't sort of heard me talk about my makeup adventure that day, visiting the Sephora inside Kohl's and also the Ulta that was, you know, right next door. You can build this up and intensify it. One of the issues with cream blush is that it sometimes isn't as saturated and it's not going to last as well. But, you know, you don't have to be concerned at this price point. You can be generous with it. You can see how wearing a lot of it looks on the skin and also how it wears, right? And why not? It's a Saturday makeup experiment. It's certainly been an interesting week. So many interesting people on set. People talking about sunset blush, people talking about, you know, all kinds of things in the makeup world. But we do want, you know, we do want payoff. I didn't think we were underpainting, but considering I'm using up all this blush, we might have to go in with a layer of foundation over it. But we do have some new foundations from our friends at the Dollar Tree to try, right? Should we try dragging it down into a boyfriend blush shape just to use up all the product? But it's amazing. This latest round of liquid blushes, whether it's the Rare Beauty or the Huda Beauty, the liquid with the doe foot. This is a liquid in a little squeezy tube. The amount of saturation you get, I feel like it's different than the L'Oreal Visible Lift squeezy tube products that had come out some years ago, right? Now look how flattering that shade is. Tulip. And we have 2 other shades. That's not even all the shades in the line, but you know, we started here. We didn't want to be crazy and grab every shade, especially the ones that looked like they wouldn't work for us. But here is our Wet n Wild squeezy tube of lip gloss, right? Just to get rid of this matte look, especially in the center, right? I'm not a big fan. I keep trying with overlining my top lip, and I feel like given my lip architecture, it's a little too much. I think I'm okay just lining my regular lips. I feel like people don't add the caveat of if you need to, because the if you need to part is often missing. So from here, we should powder, right? People talk about a pink powder. Is that something we want to get into? I feel like we have some powder options around. This is a bronzer, Fresh Glow bronzer and blush trio from our friends at the Lip Bar, right? The Lip Bar, yes. It's very difficult to find these products. I think you can buy them online, but very, very luminous. Maybe we can get into an angled brush and bronze and blush and see if that can kind of calm our blush situation down. We should also get some powder into the center of the face. Ah, here we are, right? Our friend from the dollar store, Mr. Setting Powder, right? This is one of the first products we got our hands on when we started trying to figure out makeup in the, you know, in the difficult times, right? In these times, that was when it was like, oh, I will be assisting my health if I figure this out. And it's a loose powder. A lot of people say loose powder, then pressed powder, right? I was in the Dollar Tree. I think I'd gotten these LA Colors pressed powders at the 99-cent store. That no longer exists, boo-hoo-hoo. But this is the shade Beige. I also have the shade Tan, which is too deep. And then the shade Nude. Maybe let's try Nude. But first, we're gonna use this sponge, the cheapest little sponge that comes in this nude powder, right? Something that's pale and neutral as opposed to beige, which is a little bit more pink and I think cool toned on my skin, right? So just seeing what, you know, without it being a puff and without it being the puff that's in a different area, not near the camera, that we can get it onto this sponge and just tap it through the center of the face. And these kinds of things, they're very inexpensive, but they're also really easy, you know, to wash and refresh if you feel like it's getting too much makeup or too much color on them, and you won't feel like, oh, I'm wasting product. for the penny wise among us, right? We're not baking, we're putting on enough powder. And I watched a makeup guru who was talking about that. Like, there's no need to go in even with a puff. She was using a small eyeshadow brush, right? Even that looks better already. It's not like you're going to change what your face looks like. All you're doing is changing how light reflects off of your face, right? Under the eyes, around the nose, around the mouth, around the chin. You could even add some under the contour, right? To sharpen up the contour. And again, you're experimenting with the theory. Does it actually work? You can look at your own face in process and after to see if it does, right? If you don't like that overlining thing, you can certainly use your powder to blur that out. We're not unhappy with this. We can also tidy up around the eye contour. Color-wise, we're fine. I'm wondering if the Charlotte Tilbury is actually this dark or if I contaminated it with something that wasn't quite the lip liner. I'll keep experimenting. Sometimes I have so much like sunscreen or whatever on my face that the lip liner in question doesn't pay off. And I don't know if that's what's responsible for how very rich this liner is looking today as opposed to other days where it looked like, it just looked like nothing. Pillow Talk, medium 2, right? In my travel makeup kit, I also do have a tiny little, I believe I do. Maybe I did. Yes, I do. I have a tiny little Pillow Talk. So we're going to experiment with that again. But this is the LA Colors Nude Pressed Powder. We did go over our face with the loose. This is a finishing and shine control. I want to say it's translucent. It's talc silica phenolzetol, right? All makeup should be washed off after wearing, right? We're going to go to the gym, sweat it off, and then wash it off. People say that you should put pressed powder over your loose powder, right? And this has a little bit more, not melanin, but a little more color than this white powder. So let's see what it does to the finish, right? People saying, yeah, get in there with pressed powder after loose powder. I'm not sure why, but that's what they say. And when we get on camera on the weekend and we have the time, we experiment with it, right? I wonder if Kate Middleton likes to experiment with her makeup or if she has people who do it for her instead, right? She always comes out dressed and coiffed and made up to the nines. It's not like you see, you know, a super casual Kate just not bothering because it's a weekend or, you know, wanting to let her skin breathe. That's not what happens, right? So I feel like the nude shade is better for me than the tan and certainly than the beige, right? I'll still rock beige just because I have it and I want to use it up, but you know, you want to experiment on the weekend so that you can prevent yourself from looking crazy on the weekdays, right? The weekdays is when it really counts and you don't want to look like like a crazy person. Does this come with its own brush? It does not. So we have blush, right? Passport Stamps is the bronzer, Foreign Currency is the blush. So I'm guessing we should go in first. I want to say with the blush first so that it won't mess up. Or should we do the opposite? Go in first with the blush so that we don't mess up the bronzer or go in first with the bronzer? We're gonna get, I guess we'll get the lighter shade on our brush first. What brush should we use? That is an excellent question. Ah, I do enjoy this brush. I don't know if this is the purpose for it, but I don't want to go in with something big because that's how things go wrong, right? You just get into a little bit more real estate than you want to, right? But this is what the blush is looking like. It's kind of reminiscent of Luminoso, but it might be a little bit more rich in tone because this is a Black-owned brand, right? We have Petal on our cheeks, and now we're going to add, very carefully, this luminous blush. Ah, yes, it has reflect, so it's giving you a bit of highlighter action, right? And a smaller brush will allow you to control it, and maybe you aren't dragging it across all the places that you put blush, but really concentrating on the high point of the face, right? A little bit here in the middle of the bridge and on the tip of the nose. Cupid's bow. It is very luminous. Do keep that in mind if you're, you know, doing law enforcement stuff and you don't necessarily have the leeway to have all that, right? To have all that sparkle on your face, because it will tell on you. It's so interesting. There were some older actresses on a soap that I work on, and, you know, it was interesting because they really did have highlighter on in a very strategic way. And it was beautiful and kind of unexpected. And I didn't, you know, it was a kind of serious drama sort of storyline, and I didn't really expect that from them. But it looked great. It looked very elevated, and it did not look puzzling. But I also, because it's Los Angeles, I see like grown men walking around in the sunshine in the day with a full face of highlighter, and it looks very striking. And, you know, you kind of have to experiment with how much. It is very pretty. It kind of sits on top of the skin and it has a gold reflect. But now here comes the bronzer. I did hear some Asian makeup artists talking about your bronzer should live back here and your blush and highlight should live forward, kind of in the map that people use for their sunset blush, right? That there's a front and a back to your cheek and that you're building it thoughtfully, right? I don't know that a luminous bronzer would be my first choice because I feel like you lose the color to the reflect. But again, we're experimenting today because it's Saturday and we don't have to be at work. I was surprised, you know, I think if you have a richer skin tone, I work with a woman who I think is Middle Eastern, and from far away, it really doesn't look like she's wearing makeup. It looks, you know, like she's not. But then when you get right, like a foot from her, a lot of makeup, a lot of color on the cheek, etc. And I'm kind of experimenting with putting too much of this on just to see how far it goes. Right? It's exciting, right? All those Chanel bronzers, Westman Atelier, so expensive, right? So much product for high price points, but for cheaper, drugstore brands allow us to experiment and figure out, you know, what our taste is before committing to, you know, it's interesting also to see people talk about their, you know, makeup hoarding and how much stuff they've collected and how much stuff they still use, despite it perhaps being, what is the word? Expired, right? That you spent good money and you still like the product. You're not going to get rid of it. But, you know, in certain circles that's frowned upon. And I think if you're a makeup guru who gets this stuff for free, yeah, you can get rid of stuff. You can donate it. You know, if there's products that absolutely don't work out for me, I'll leave them outside for you know, it's kind of like the free area for people to take, try, experiment with, um, you know, some makeup is better than no makeup, right? We've all been there. You know, it's such a gift in LA, like when you stumble across, you know, $100 bill that someone lost, right? On a drunken night out, or you stumble across, I don't know, something useful, right? People are constantly putting furniture and different things outside, and it's helpful, right? It's something that, you know, you have to like bring options to different television projects, right? And it's helpful to have it, and it's helpful to have it for free, right? We can use a little eyeliner. We can probably brush our brows up, right? We can even use the comb side. But, you know, in that Meghan Markle way, just experimenting with paler colors and not feeling like contour has to start out from like a deep dark place, or even that blush and bronzer has to start out from the deepest darkest place. And that was where we were probably even a year ago. I was really how I felt about it, like, oh, I should just go in and be super aggressive about like colors that quote really show and all of this, and it's like not necessarily true. So this is an LA Colors dark blonde pencil, and it comes with a spoolie. Just resist the urge to go even, what is the word? To go even darker with your eyebrow pencil. If you have dark hair, like, you know, you don't need to go extra super dark. This is nude. This is tan. And then we also have beige. So beige being the least useful of the three, right? One little trick is to take some powder and then back comb it into your brows to make your brow products stick better, right? Just like you're like, wow, why isn't my Charlotte Tilbury pencil sticking on, right? You've seen people use micellar water or tissues to wipe everything off of their lips. But another method is just to add powder to give, you know, hopefully more grip to the pencil and, you know, brow gel and other products that you're trying to put on. You know, you kind of keep those ideas in mind, and then when you can, you experiment for cheap, right? Back comb this blonde pencil into your brows. You know what you want to do. You want to extend the brow. You want to give yourself more of an arch and figure out, you know, which direction will allow you to do something without giving yourself, you know, monster brows with the harsh outline. I listen with interest when people are like, draw a line under your brow and then make a perfect point. And I don't think real brows ever look quite that way. Just keep in mind the whole idea of strokes that make it look like hair, that give you some groom without going bananas and making you look like there's too much brows. There's a couple of like videos that are like, you know, different actresses through the years, and you can tell when an artist got hold of them and put on the like 2016 harsh outline brows, and it looks dumb. It looks dramatic, but my God, what a moment in makeup fashion. And, you know, also having a little handheld mirror, right? Not so big that it blocks your face, but big enough that you can kind of see what you're doing, see how much product there is on the skin. I'm always really interested when people talk about not going completely bananas and having so much product on the face, because you've seen the Getty images, the unedited photos, right? Arch and tail. Just a little bit of a suggestion of that. Right? And this is a blonde pencil for a blonde person. I'm not blonde, but you don't have to go for the darkest shade of eyebrow products for it to look groomed, right? You already have dark color to your brows, right? You don't have to even bleach them or put concealer in them. Just, again, for $1.25, experiment with what a blonde pencil might do in your brows, right? The dark blonde is the shade from our friends at LA Colors, right? LA Colors, they sell it at Daiso, the Japanese dollar store. Yes, you can go higher end if you feel like an impulse for that, that you really feel like that's gonna do something special for you. But, ooh, I just got hot sauce on my finger. Ah, crazy times. No, I'm not gonna lick it off. That breakfast is over. I did have a really great burrito this week at work. I was experimenting with the Cholula hot sauce versus the Tapatio. I used to think I preferred Cholula, and then I've been on Tapatio so hard and so long that I'm not sure if I really do prefer Cholula to Tapatio anymore. We do have to think about how much salt is in these products, but you know, these paler colors, just following the map and the routine has got me looking prettier than without it, right? But I am not necessarily wearing the most or the darkest makeup of all. And, you know, just do a little eyeliner and I think we're out. You know, and experimenting with this newish lighting setup, right? More gels so you can go brighter, but have the light be diffused, you know, and kind of figuring out, can I cut this gel in half and put half of it on the softbox without losing brightness, but without having, you know, especially a ring light that's close to you. Some people suggest taking your ring light and bouncing it off a wall. I can't do that on the middle of my table, but you know, what a gift. We made it through the week. Very busy with a lot of work. But, you know, also I saw something really interesting this week. It's like a lot of people want you to stay a kind of people pleaser and victim, right? Like, oh, I have no control over what's going on. Oh, I should feel guilty for not doing everything that people want me to do. People give you bad contracts. They will, you know, screw you out of a day of work, but still expect you, honestly, to be available and willing and, you know, doing a top performing, giving them, you know, top performance when you're not even rewarded that well, and you also have options, right? People will send you contracts that are honestly a scandal, you know, and you kind of have to respect them and respect the people that put you in touch with them enough to keep it private. But that's not necessarily how you feel. It is outrageous, you know, but I have to like thank, you know, NYU Law School and my undergraduate institution, and just having been in the business for several years, tangling with some unscrupulous lawyer and executive types. You know, you feel enthusiastic, you feel flattered, but you feel that way until you don't, right? And then when you recognize what people are trying to do to you and to your intellectual property, right? This goes for my friends who are doing music as well, right? People mock Cardi B right now for having a 360 deal with Atlantic Records, yes. You know, what does that mean? I think it means like, you know, you're so persuaded by the promotion and the hype and the hits and the payola, allegedly, that you're not really in control of the situation. Do you get to own your masters? Do you get to own your name? And those are like significant things, significant ideas for when you're trying to be in business for over the long term. If you are dependent on their money and their spend for you to penetrate the market, you haven't created that kind of loyalty to with your audience, and then you're attacking your audience and making fun of people who don't buy plastic surgery. There's a lot of drama happening right now online. It's going to be very difficult for people to love you enough to want to spend in a marketplace where Megan is on tour right now. Megan the Stallion, not Markle. And they're not going to necessarily come out the way they do, you know, when Pink Friday drops and when that tour is happening. So, you know, as a business person, you kind of listen to sources of information, and it can be quite shocking when you you get touched by these situations and people want to, you know, glamour you, like give you the big eyes and be like, so wonderful, oh, so great, and so whatever, and kind of con you into doing things against your interest. And whether that's a contract with a Russell Simmons, or if that's a contract with a, you know, is it a nonprofit? Is it a for-profit? I'm not sure. But, you know, you want to do the job. You want to do good work that helps people, but you don't want to be a sucker. And in a way, it makes you lose your appetite for doing business with people who, you know, try to hoodwink, right? The fact that, you know, so many people are still in love with Donald Trump, despite his business practices, despite how he's treated women in his life, women he's encountered, women who have sued. It is interesting. But then along comes a different kind of character who then decides that he wants to, what, damage the man? Take him out? You know, what's really going on? Unclear. But somehow, this Mr. Brooks character has brought Kate Middleton and her images into it by having her images saved on his phone. Why? If you have wisdom about what that's all about as Kate Middleton struggles to return to public life, perhaps, but now I think she's done for the moment and off for the summer holidays. And is that what's best for the monarchy? Is it what's best for her marriage? We gonna see, but we gonna keep talking about it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you next time. Mwah. Bye, stars.